I'm Mark Hennick. This is So-Called Normal. Hey folks, welcome to So-Called Normal. My name is Mark Hennick. Today on the show we have Darius Bashar. Darius is a photographer that I've worked with now a couple of times. He did a photo shoot for me a few years ago and I guess last year. And I think it was probably the only time that I've ever had a photographer make it feel like they actually saw me, you know? So I was really impressed with his work. He's become a good friend. And we had a great conversation. We went deep on it, too. I wanted to know more about him and why he practices his art and the connection between photography and mental health and personal wellness and personal development. So I think it was a fascinating conversation. I learned more about myself, and I think that anybody who's interested in photography or the arts will take a lot from it too. So here's my conversation with Darius Bashar on So-Called Normal.
I am a photographer, I'm a podcaster, I'm a writer, but I like to tell people that before any of that, I'm really a soul having a human experience. And that is really, really important to me to always remember that, as opposed to sort of being just trapped by one of those categories. Also categories like man, that can trap you. Your ethnicity, for me, can trap me. So I like to be aware of those things and the way I spent my time on this planet, but also remember that there's something higher than that.
Right.
But for most people, they know me through my photography.
Yeah. So what does it mean then to be a soul? How did you put it? A soul having a human experience? Was that it?
Yeah. My most fundamental belief is all beliefs are bullshit. But all beliefs are true if you put enough energy behind them.
Right.
My second belief right after that is I believe we are souls having a human experience as opposed to humans that if they were lucky, they would have a spiritual experience once in a while.
Right.
And that shapes everything for me. It changes everything for me because it's like, am I in pursuit of money? Am I in pursuit of status? What am I optimizing for in this world? And that one belief always brings me back to like, hey, remember why you're here. You're not just a human.
Right. That reminds me, as you speak of I don't know what the tradition or background of it would be, but that essentially our body is a vehicle. It's serving a purpose, a function, a temporary function, in order to accomplish something else, something bigger.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like we've heard these things so many times before, and I think that's one of the problems. That it's a vessel. I've heard about that before. Oh, it's a temple. Oh, it's I like to say I'm not a human. I have a human.
Right.
And some people that are clever are like, oh yeah, I know what that is, and it's gone. And I think for me, the most profound realizations are the simplest.
Right.
They've always been there. We've always known them.
Right.
But as humans in this human experience, our minds can get very sophisticated and very clever.
Sure.
Like, oh, I've heard that before. Yeah. And they'll finish the sentence for you. And what I'm learning as I get older is I'm like doubling and tripling down on cliches.
Right.
I love cliches.
Why is that? How do you mean?
Because when I take a step back, cliches, the only reason I don't like them is some cool kids, some smart kids told me, oh, that's a cliche. Don't say that. They've been around for centuries. So just because some popular kids in that current time are saying this is not acceptable, I'm going to be like, oh, yeah, I want to be cool. So forget that cliche. Or thousands, hundreds of years, people have been like gaining something valuable from this idea. So now when I hear a cliche, I'll like sit down and write it 10 times and think about it 10 times and be like, forget the cool kids. There's magic here. That's why this thing has lasted.
Right. This idea of repetition, it's come up a lot in philosophy as well. That the idea that it's in, so first of all, two things. You're going to notice I'm going to jump around as I'm thinking. I'm not a very lateral thinker. Is that the word? Anyway.
You play in the clouds. I
play in the clouds. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But also, second thing, I don't think I've ever talked about Hegel or Immanuel Kant or Nietzsche on this podcast before. But anyway, it reminds me of this idea, this very Hegelian idea that or Nietzschean idea, this eternal return of the same, or that we're cycling around. But every time you come back around to it, it's different.
Yeah.
It's a spiral. It evolves every time you come back around. And I was reading... I guess it was last summer. I was reading a lot of Joan Didion, if you're familiar with her work, and she did 2 memoirs. She's obviously, or maybe it's not obvious, but a very well-established, kind of a legend in the literary world. But she did her first 2 memoir a couple of years ago, and I read them last summer. And she uses this tool, I find, of repetition, and it's usually very simple. Her writing is very sparse, I find, at least in her memoirs. And she'll use a line or a quote from somebody and keep bringing it back. She'll use it in the first couple of paragraphs. It'll come back repeatedly throughout the book, and then she'll either end with it or put it right near the end. And by the time you get to the end, there's a point where you're kind of sick of her repeating this line, but by the time you get to the end, it has a whole new meaning from when she first said it at the beginning of the book, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I thought of when you said that this idea that you're always articulating life in some ways. Yeah.
We are constantly changing.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example that's similar to that author's with my heartshots.
Mm-hmm. Heartshots are your alternative to headshots for the listeners.
Yeah. So the concept with heartshots is don't waste your money on headshots. Nobody wants to be in your head. Half the time you don't want to be in your head. All people want to do is feel your heart, feel your sincerity. And the closer you are to having a digital representation, a photo of you that is sincere and authentic and real, the closer you are to working with those people because they feel something real.
Right.
So it's a whole process. It's like a 4-hour experience. We only shoot for 60 minutes. People are always like blown away by that part. And at one point in the experience, we look at photos for the first time. It's like 10 minutes into shooting. And I show people pictures of themselves and I tell them, we're going to pause on the first picture for 10 seconds. And I'm going to give that voice in your head that has a tendency of being very critical, the microphone. And they're like, oh, I thought you were going to shut that voice down. I'm like, no. We're going to give him or her the microphone so they can get the first go at your face. And I ask them, what do you see? Like, oh, I see my wrinkles. Oh, I see my forehead so big, my hairline, my scars, my this, my that. I'm like, okay, great, cool. Let's make space for that voice to be heard. But it's like a roller coaster ride. If they stopped at that point, the whole ride would just be anxiety. But if you keep going to the top and it gets maybe scarier, but as you're coming down, you're liberated. You're like, that was amazing. And so what happens is by the time they go through the photos, they start, other voices show up. Right. I call it their cosmic family. It's not just that singular voice that's critical often. There's other voices that are like, man, you're handsome. Wow, look at your dad. I see your mom in there. I see like your child self, you know? And so these other voices show up and all of them are there just like marveling at these photos. And this amazing thing happens if we circle back to the first photo. Oftentimes, they'll end up starring that photo. And they're like, oh, I love this photo. I'm like, you realize that was the one that you hated.
Right.
5 minutes ago.
That's beautiful.
But they've changed. And my theory there is after doing 500,000 photos of humans and seeing a wide spectrum of humans, every single human has face dysmorphia. Every single human has body dysmorphia. They're not lying when they say they see those things and they're really harsh and they think they're ugly. But if they spend enough time thinking and feeling and going past that singular thought, they realize that there's so much more love for themselves within themselves than they ever imagined.
Yeah. You know, we I think met maybe through this
first time we met in real life.
In real life, yeah. Through doing a portrait series, and I think we actually did significantly longer than 4 hours.
Yeah.
Especially that review part. And you gave me wine, and I got a little bit drunk, so that helped. Well, and I have social anxiety disorder too. So, and I talk about this all the time, not as much as I talk about my depression, but what that means for me or how that articulates itself in my life is that although I can go on cameras and stages all the time, and actually I feel most truly myself when I'm on a stage in front of a group of people because I can just let it all go, and that's what I'm used to doing. But it means when I'm in one-on-one interactions or small group interactions, I get very anxious and I feel very anxious. But when we went through that process, like you said, and we got to reviewing those pictures, I've had a lot of pictures taken of me, and I hate all of them, almost all of them, except for these. And I think you probably hear this all the time, but when I looked at the pictures that you took of me, I'm actually feeling a little bit emotional right now talking about pictures of myself, but I'm reflecting on the experience with you. I had never seen myself in that way before, or maybe I had never seen myself
with those eyes,
and externally projected how I feel. I've never seen my real self outside of myself before.
Ooh, boy.
That person's always in here. Right?
You got me going. That was one of the most magical experiences of my life. If I haven't told you that, that was really profound in my career and my life. Because you were the first, how much am I allowed to share?
You share whatever you want. Yeah.
You were the first man that I'd never met before. You were the second man in general that came and had an emotional experience.
Oh, wow.
So
for the listeners, I cried.
Yeah.
We talked about my mother who had passed away, I think about 2 years prior at that point.
Yeah. But it was an interesting cry because a song came on that was more emotional and I could see emotion building in you. And the first cry was, I could see energy wanting to be released and I could see you pushing the energy down.
That's so me.
And you were not willing to let it go. You were like, nope, push down, 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 down. So like there's so much tension and suffering because something wanted to be expressed and something was like, no.
Yeah.
Then you did something amazing. Do you remember?
No.
In my head, I'm like, okay. And I always ask people when they get emotional, because half of the people get emotional and that's like one of their favorite parts of it, to express and let go and cathart. I asked you, I'm like, I can stop shooting. No one has ever told me to stop shooting. It's a really amazing thing. Like they want to be witnessed and seen. So I went to go change the song and you did this amazing thing. You said, no, play it again. Wow,
I actually don't remember that. Wow.
I never forget that. You said, play it again.
Yeah.
A really emotional James Vincent McMorrow song. Yeah. And I'm like, really? I put it back on, and this time, to your credit, with pure courage, you said, I'm moving the wall out of the way. And you released.
You know, this is I reflect on this a lot because self-criticism is kind of my jam. That's what I spend a lot of time in my head criticizing myself. And one of the, I think I apply that as well to my emotional expression. This isn't supposed to be about me. I'm kind of hijacking your interview here.
No,
but
this is my jam. I love this jam.
Yeah, no, I've never really talked about this before, even though I talk about everything. But when I see an area in myself that feels underdeveloped, I almost get critical of myself that no, I need to lean into that harder. That's what I'm afraid of. That feels really uncomfortable. Go there, right? And I think that's where that was coming from. I don't remember asking you to do that because I think I was just in the...
I have a clear memory. I never forget that. Yeah. If I live to be 1,000 years old, that was an amazing experience. Yeah. And it changed my work. So the experience you had, the black and white experience, is different than the heartshots.
Okay.
And it's been honed in quite a lot. It's a fairly different experience. Yeah. Before it was sort of like just go and see and just hold the space open for people to have these experiences. And now it's been like slowly mastered to get as deep as possible consensually, but also be as light and fun as possible. Right. So I want people walking out feeling like, wow, who showed up in those pictures? That was me. And Darius didn't do all these tricks. All he did was allow me to be me and be free. Right. And I want them to leave that experience, yes, with the best pictures anyone's ever taken of them. I love delivering that to people. But much more importantly, I'm sort of like reprogramming people's relationships with their humans.
Yeah.
I want them to see their humans in a different way, and then walk out imagining, wow, that fierce person, that tender person, that playful person that showed up so simply in those photos. What would happen in my life if that version of me showed up in the next business meeting, the next relationship date, the next gym encounter, whatever it is? Like, that's obviously in me.
Yeah.
And now I get to release it whenever I feel it's right.
Yeah. What I like about what you're saying right now, and having gone through a version or an iteration of the experience, is that you're not taking pictures of the way that people present themselves, which is how people think about pictures. I think how they think of having their own picture taken is that, oh, I got to go in there and smile and show them. It's the Instagram thing.
Their default smile.
Their default smile, sure, but it's the smile that you want everybody else to see.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So now I have exercises I do that push the edges in a playful, for example. So we start off, and I'm doing air quotes here, guys, the science of a pretty picture. And I ask people, forget this as soon as we're done. You don't need to remember any of it. It's just fun. And one part of it is I get them to like say, show me your default eyes when I take a picture. And they show me their eyes, and it's usually somewhere between like a 7 and a 6 out of 10. My spectrum is never based on good to bad, because a 10 is batshit crazy. And so they're like, what? I'm like, yes, now show me the batshit crazy version.
Right.
And they'll be like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, show me crazy eyes. Show me that. And then I say, now show me a 0 out of 10, which is eyes closed. Right. And then I see them perplexed, like, what is this crazy man talking about? I'm like, what I'm doing, and I tell them, I'm reprogramming your human. Right. I'm pushing the edge on this side. I'm pushing the edge on this side to let you know that in this space, you're free. Yeah. You're free to close your eyes. People pick those pictures because they look at them and they see peace and tranquility. Right. People pick the batshit crazy eyes because they see that it evokes so much emotion and joy. Right. So it's a very different approach, but like piece by piece, I reprogramming and freeing people just to show up and be. Well, and there's also something I think powerful to be said about getting them unstuck from that thing that they've been thinking all day. I've got this photo shoot coming. I got to go and be the photo shoot person if they do it a lot, or just this is who I think I should be when I go to this thing. So just break that right off the top. You know, I do the little bit of coaching I do with public speakers sometimes. That's one of the things that I work with people on, is that embarrass yourself. One of the greatest fears and one of the worst, the death of a good performance when you're on stage public speaking is being afraid that you're going to embarrass yourself. Love that. That's what kills everybody. Just do it. Yeah. Just get that out of the way right up front. Do something silly. Say something, even if nobody else notices, just in your own head, because that breaks down that barrier, and then you're free to play. I love that. That's like, it reminds me of Jim Carrey. He would go on stage at a certain part in his career when he was doing stand-up, and his objective would be to get booed off stage. He wouldn't tell the audience because that would be cheating. He was just like, go on and get booed, either bad jokes or insulting jokes. And because what's the scariest thing for a comedian? To be booed on stage. So he's like, let me see what this feels like. Let's test it and then see that maybe I have more capacity than I ever knew. Right. Well, this is it. It's almost it is a controlled failure, basically. You're going into it without defeating the fear of failure by going in with the intention of failing. Yes. Right? My 2018, I went in with the intention that I was going to treat the whole year like a flight simulation. So in a flight simulation, it's a safe place where it's just simulated, right? You have this computer on. But the point is, if you were going to do it for an entire year, you're trying to test the apparatus, test your knowledge and your skills, test physics, you know? You want to see, can I do 3, loops, or can I do 30? There's only one way to find out. Right. You have to crash and burn. Right. You have to see where the edge is and get to it and go past it in a safe place. It's not a real flight. Yeah. So I looked at podcasting, I looked at public speaking, I looked at a few different things. I'm like, let's safely crash and burn. Yeah. And it changed my life completely. Well, this is a big part of, I think anyway, or at least my impression of the fitness world too, is that you go until you fail. You lift that weight at that, exactly, not to hurt yourself. You're not going to overexert yourself, but do it until you reach failure. You don't know what your limit is until you get there. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, absolutely. So that was, that was a fun experiment, and like I didn't take it into my work at that level, but the truth is, even my work has a small portion where it's we gotta fail. Like yesterday I did a shoot and I told the person we're gonna take 10 pictures that are absolutely unusable. Go. And it's just like, what do you mean unusable? I'm like, whatever you think, go. So they'll start making weird faces. Yeah. But in between these weird faces, you see a free human after like the 4th or 5th one, and they're just naturally laughing and being themselves, and those are keepers. So sometimes I get people, I have this little trampoline to just jump on it. Sometimes I do all sorts. Every shoot is different. It's all based on love and respect and playfulness and deep connection, and like actually listening to these people and hearing them and also sharing with them. It's like 2 humans meeting and just talking about their time on earth, you know? So it's different for everyone.
I want to step back a bit because I'm interested in understanding why. I don't know if it's that you are craving this connection with people as I listen to you, and this is kind of what I'm thinking, or if it's a thirst for connection with people, or how to properly articulate it. But I'm interested in learning where that comes from. Have you always been like that, wanting to connect with people in that way?
I think the truth is, now that I've had some space away from it, from the beginning of it, was I was just deeply lonely. I also have I am challenged in social settings sometimes, and I get social anxiety. It hasn't been diagnosed or anything like that. It's just sometimes I'm super overwhelmed and I can't deal with too much energy. And in that point in my life, I was sad and lonely, and I badly wanted to connect with people. And the shoots that I was working on were bigger fashion shoots, and I didn't feel connection.
How long had you been working as a photographer professionally then?
I would be doing it on the side because I was actually working professionally as a cinematographer.
Okay.
And my first gig was a fashion shoot, a big fashion shoot, which is unheard of. And then that went really well, and I just kept booking more and more fashion stuff until just like a month before the black and white experience was born. I had booked like 20 e-com shoots, and I was like losing my mind. And so I was like, I'm not feeling satisfied. This is not why I'm on this planet, to be like photoshopping beauty marks off of really beautiful women's bodies.
Well, and it seems to be, I mean, I'm obviously not a model or involved in fashion in any way, but it seems like the objective there is for the person to disappear, to be the canvas for the thing that they're presenting, right?
Whoa.
So it's almost the opposite of what you're doing now.
That's interesting. Yeah, like there's just a level of intimacy and sincerity that's not there. You're right. Like there's a template they need to fit in, and if they don't fit into that template, you need to
fit them into it.
Yeah. Pinch them in, Photoshop them in, remove this, add this. And you're just, as a photographer, you're just like so far, literally far from the model, from the experience. You're trying to get this full body, get the outfit, big fancy mansions, hair and makeup, client, all these frills that didn't give me any value. And I was like, I gotta flip this on its head, and I want to feel connected. So I'm like, forget the model, forget the hair and makeup, forget the mansion, just put a black backdrop, and I want to get as close as I can to a human and see what happens. And it was just an experiment, and I put that first one out the next day because I just wanted to, I'm like, I didn't know what I was doing. And then hundreds of people commented and started to try to book me and pay me. I'm like, oh man, I don't know what I did. That was a fluke, and I'm not going to take people's money for this. So I took the pictures off, but I knew that there was something here for me that was so much more than pictures. And I thought I was getting a master class in photography, but really I was getting a master class in human. And it was like my medicine, because every person I saw, I could start seeing these connections between them. Wow, we all are insecure. We all have these doubts. We can mask them, but all the doubts that were in me, I could see in them. So I think I came to it through loneliness, but I think also I was deeply hidden in my life. So to create something that allows people to be seen was the at that time the best I could do in that world, because I wasn't ready to be seen myself.
Why not? Why were you feeling so lonely and hidden? How did life just happen to you up until that point and you found yourself in this place, or what led you there?
So I've done a lot of work, like therapy related work, breath work, meditation, writing around this topic. And recently I made a discovery around this. And it's funny because my own personal development and like the service I provide are like growing together. Like this photography vehicle to get into humans is giving me tools to get into myself. And what I discovered is like, you can ask people what they do. It's usually sometimes an interesting answer. Ask them why they do it, always more interesting. And they'll always answer with their head why first. If they're willing to go deeper, they'll give you their heart why. And their heart why is less articulate, less 3-4 syllable words. And if they're truly honest, like there's like, they get choked up a little sometimes, right? And it's usually some iteration of, because I know what it feels like to be hidden. I know what it feels like to be broke. I know what it feels like to have an eating disorder. And they know that wound feeling, and their why is, I'm going to create a world where that doesn't have to be. There's a layer deeper that's so amazing, and it's their heart story. Similar to the how headshots are so contrived and stiff and like, this is how I think the world wants to see me. And heart shots are, this is me, just free. Heart stories are similar, and heart stories usually take place in a single room, usually happen when you're a child, usually involve your parents. And it's the moment your core wound was birthed. And what I've discovered through my photography is people hide themselves. They show themselves these default versions because they're afraid if you saw the real me, you wouldn't love me.
You'd leave me.
Yeah. I'm not lovable. I'm not trustable. I'm not likable. I got to hide that part of me. What I discovered through my work is your core wound is a twin to your power. It was birthed at the exact same moment. But by hiding that heart story of that thing that happened to us, we're also avoiding our power. This unique lived experience that allows us to make the biggest impact possible. So
in your work so far, have you discovered what that core wound has been for you?
Yes. 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago, very fresh. Are you? No, obviously no. I don't want to pressure you, but are you comfortable talking a bit about that?
No, but I will.
Great answer.
It's the truth.
You don't have to, of course.
I know.
But you're welcome to.
I will, only because if someone's out there and listens to it and is like, wow, it illuminates something in their life that is worth exploring and expressing, then that's why I would do it. So I discovered that as a child, I was an only child. I grew up with two parents that I deeply love and respect to this day and have done many wonderful things for me. But together, they were not a good mix. It created a lot of tension and sometimes violence. Not against me, mostly against my mom. And now I've discovered it wasn't that she was a big, bold personality in this. It was because she was a fierce feminist. And she was unwilling to let anybody control her. And to be honest, I just discovered that on the drive here. I just got that. And they had beliefs that were in contradiction.
How so? What kind of beliefs?
He wasn't a feminist.
Right.
So a woman that would stand up for what she believed in and say what she felt and not take any shit from any man, no matter how much stronger he is.
Right.
That created tension.
Sure.
And at the time, I think I resented her for it because I was just like, just be quiet.
Right.
Please don't do this. And I think I resented myself for years and years watching that, not knowing what to do. And once or twice like laughing because I was 9 years old and
Sure.
I had no clue. Like it just came out of me and I hated myself for doing that.
Yeah. So they fought a lot and you witnessed it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the violence was tough to witness and experience. And one particular time after a violent episode, I remember he came home.
Your dad?
Yeah. And the lock was on. And he started like pleading with me to open the lock. And she started pleading with me not to. And that was really tough position for me to be in.
Sure.
The emotion levels were like at a 500 for both of them. And I remember her just crying in the bed with me. Like, and in that moment, I made a decision with the wisdom of a 9-year-old. This world has too much emotion. Because in my head, it's like, he's going to kill her. She's going to die. He's going to go to jail. And I'm like, whoa. And so I decided then and there, shut down. And I just, I couldn't move. I was just like, no more emotions. If I bring emotions or my truth to this equation, everybody dies. Right. That was a story that I didn't even know I told myself. So the next morning, he left, said some terrible things about me and her. And she went to her bed and like next morning, big smile. Everything's good. Never talked about this ever. Right. Ever. And I made a decision at that point in my life to just shut down my emotions and just receive other people's emotions and be there for them. Right. For 22 years of my life, I didn't cry. For 22 years of my life, I kept all my stuff bottled in. That's such a common, I think, effect of trauma, which is what it sounds like you experienced was trauma, to blunt that emotion, right? Yeah, because you feel out of control. Right. You feel like everything's about to fall apart and you don't have tools to articulate and communicate. And you have to be strong for mom, right? Yeah. So I grew distant from mom because she could never see the real me because I didn't want to, I was scared because like in that narrative is like, there's too much emotions. I got to keep my emotions, but you can't do that. No, you can't it's a terrible plan. And so the energy builds and the emotions build and you don't know what to do with it because you're feeling all these feelings. And I remember at that time, like I had got the job, 6 figures, great car, condo, everything was awesome, but I hated my life. Right. I couldn't emote. Yeah. Bad combo. Yeah. So you drink. Use substances, you numb because it feels too intense and you don't have a plan, a strategy to communicate. Yeah. That's a terrible, addition to this already volatile mix. Yeah. And it caused me a lot of heartache and regret. So what was the breaking point? Was it going to this fashion shoot and realizing that you weren't getting the depth that you needed? Or was it something else? The breaking point was realizing I was living somebody else's life. This was not my life. I was chasing things that were somebody else's because people told me to. I had fears that weren't mine. They were somebody else's, but they became mine. And the true breaking point, that like the big spiritual aha moment was when my aunt got diagnosed with leukemia. That changed everything in my life. You were close to her? She's my second mom. Yeah. And she's still alive. We almost lost her 3 times last week. Wow. She's the most tenacious fighter I've ever met in my life. But I remember that summer, I'm like, what? I've never been through any death. Ever. Like it was just unknown to me. And she had cancer, and I remember this thought going through my head of, holy cow, is this her last summer? I love summer. Like there's nothing I love more than summer. Like this is the last one she gets. She didn't even know it was her last summer. And then it hit me, this could be my last summer. And then the thought that changed my life forever. There is a last breath out there looking for each and every one of us. Waiting for us. It's out there. 50 minutes it could find me, 50 years it could find me, nobody knows. And so again, that cliche, right? Yeah, I get it. We're going to die. That's a cliche.
Right.
It's so common. Everyone's going to die. We get it. That was the first time I felt it in my body, because at the end of every morning meditation, I would take 3 deep breaths. And on the third one, I would exhale, close my eyes, and imagine I was auditioning for my last breath. And I was scanning my entirety to be like, how do I feel? Am I smiling? Did I fully let go of everything? Were there more things I needed to create, more conversations I had to have, more forgiveness I need to give, more love left in me? And that led to like just this explosion of, I got to do more in my life before it's too late.
Right. I find that in my own experience of grief, that question of more it's about a loss of, it's grieving the loss of a future that you wanted. It's not grieving the loss of something past, right?
Yes, you're right.
You wanted more time with that person. You wanted more summers. You wanted more of something.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah. Yeah. And it was just like, you have an opportunity to get more by having better quality time.
If you realize that. If you stop grasping for the grief and instead living your life. You have that opportunity. So how has your relationship with your parents evolved since that time with all of these lessons? You said you're still close to them, are you?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Oh, man.
Do they know what you just said?
I'm terrified. I'm terrified about that part.
Right.
And I've thought about this a lot, because I shared this in my podcast and like buried it like 20 minutes in.
Do they listen?
Yes. Yeah. But they haven't. And I'm like, oh man. And then the thing hit me of like, she's going to be furious. He's going to be furious. Okay. But what if this was her opportunity to finally talk about it?
Wow.
The truth is, I'm terrified.
Sure.
I'm like in my head imagining like you launch this and you give me the link, and I'm like, oh my God, am I gonna put this on my Facebook? She's gonna see it. What happens? And then I'm like, yo, sometimes being fully expressed means being brave,
right?
And not doing it for accolades and money, but doing it because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
My intention here is, I love her so much. I love him so much too. They're incredibly different humans. And at the age of 36, I've realized I am not here to change them.
Right.
I'm here to accept them and not be negatively impacted by them.
Yeah.
So I get to make the boundaries. I don't have to have relationships with either of them.
Sure. You're an adult now. You do whatever you want.
But dude, that was groundbreaking.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? No, I have to.
Yeah.
No, you don't. You get to. You choose if you want to. And if it gets to a point where it's hurting you, picture it like you had a kid. Would you let your kid hang out with someone that's hurting them? No. So how are you going to do that for yourself?
Yeah. I hear that this is probably by far one of the most common things that I hear from young people who reach out to me, who are, very clearly struggling. They know they're struggling. People around them know they're struggling. Almost always they say, but I don't want to ask for help. I don't want to say anything because I'm afraid of what my parents might say or do, or my parents tell me that we don't believe in medication or psychiatry or mental health problems or depression and my reaction now where I am in my life is almost, it doesn't matter what they think. Their life isn't your life, and maybe you live with them, sure, but it's not up to them how you feel anymore.
Yeah, like I'm just learning this. And so your statement is triggering me in this moment in a beautiful way. Because I'm like, what do you mean?
Right.
What? Right? But
I'm my own person?
Yeah, I'm 36 years old.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I think there's, I guess, some unique experiences you have as an only child.
Right.
But I know it's far past that.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm learning that now. I'm still learning that to set boundaries.
Yeah.
And
this thing you said too, though, about kids accepting their parents. You usually think of it as the other way around. Almost always, the whole history of psychoanalysis, I think, has been about the kids striving for their parents to accept them. When really, it's a two-way street. Growing to accept your parents doesn't mean they're probably never going to change, but that's okay too, right? I mean, that's their life.
Yeah, and as you get older, this is the thing with beliefs. Those beliefs that I said were totally made up but totally true.
Right.
They're layers of foundation. And so if you believe sooner or later, everyone's going to screw me over. And you believe that 10 times every day for 10, 20, 30 years, that belief is so solid, you can't even see to the beginning where you had placed it. It was a choice to place it. You're like, no, this isn't a belief. This is my life. This is my real, this is what I experience.
Yeah. For me, it was always, and still to a large extent is, if you expect to fail, if you expect to be worse than everybody else at everything, then when you actually are, you won't be let down. Right? You set the bar so low for yourself.
Super safe.
It's super safe.
Yeah.
And that was not conducive, it turns out, to my happiness.
No. Yeah, because you have ambition and drive and fire in your belly and you want to create impact.
But you don't want to be let down either because you're so afraid of that failure and what all the things that you think that will mean.
Yeah. See, it's like people are so terrified to claim what they want.
Right.
And I get it, because if you claim it out loud, then there's a chance people know it and it's out, it's in the public, and then there's a chance you might not get it. Well, and that hurts.
And I think too, it's not necessarily, or maybe it's a fear of people being afraid to claim what they want, but I think it's more so a fear of people getting and losing what they want.
That's a whole other level of, I think you're right. Sometimes people are sabotaging themselves because they're afraid of the thing they're going to get and how they might change. I've seen for so many people, particularly women, to be honest, women are in such an amazing place in the world right now because they are able to do anything they want to do. They're smarter than men in so many ways. And also they have generations of experience of not taking up space. And so they have this opportunity and this drive to take up space and still fears. We all have fears. I have tons of fears of taking up space. So the idea of not claiming what you want because you're afraid you might not get it, it's like saying, I want to score points in a basketball game, but I'm not going to shoot. I'm scared to shoot because I might miss. So instead, I'm going to walk around waiting for someone to throw the ball off my head and then accidentally go in.
Basically.
That's what you're waiting for, right? Yes, there's a chance you're going to miss. And life is like basketball. You miss a lot. Yeah. But I think Michael Jordan has the record for most points and most misses.
Sure. Well, and this is actually what people don't understand. You know, they see somebody or they listen to somebody on a podcast or they see somebody on a stage for 8 minutes or whatever, despite the million other minutes in their life or however many minutes. And they assume that that's the whole picture.
Success is easy. Yeah.
You fail way more than you succeed. You just only ever see the successes.
Yeah. That's why I love this podcast. Because you're talking to people about the failures as well, and you're giving the world a holistic perspective of these people. That's
what normal is. It's not this social media curated, image that we want to project. It's that whatever your recovery journey looks like, and I say the term recovery very liberally, whatever you're recovering from, it's messy. It's weird. It looks different for everybody. There's no template for how to do this. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing half the time, 3/4 of the time. But you figure it out as you go. You lean into it. Nobody knows what they're doing. Half the time, people who seem to be experts or who portray themselves as experts have no idea what they're doing, but that's the image they've curated.
Yeah, but they're doing.
And they're doing, as far as we know, they're doing, as far as we see.
Yeah, but they might be doing and failing.
Sure.
But that's the thing. The faster you fail, the faster you win. I think that's like Facebook's motto, right? Like fail fast. That takes courage to be okay with making mistakes and falling on your face.
Yeah, and then getting back up. And in the mindfulness tradition, the practice is the doing. It's not the achieving the state of perfect nirvana or peace or sleep or whatever it is your goal is. Mm-hmm. The practice is of falling away and pulling yourself back. That's what builds the muscle.
That's why I love asking people, what are you optimizing for? If you're optimizing for an end, then claim it. I'm optimizing for $1 million. I'm optimizing to be the CEO or whatever. If you're optimizing, most people I've sat with, and I've sat with some hyper successful people for these black and whites and these heartshots, they have a story that goes something like, I was optimizing for the default thing, money and status. I achieved it and I was not happy. And I was like, this was the wrong mountain to climb. And then at a later part in their life, they had to be like, so what am I optimizing for? Where what you're talking about is optimizing for joy. If you have joy in the process and the journey, you're winning all the time.
Yeah. And that's focusing on those small, otherwise seemingly insignificant things that otherwise you would just walk past or ignore, but taking the time to invest them with meaning, whatever that meaning is for you, if it's joy or whatever.
Yeah.
To lead a fuller life.
Simple, but not easy.
Simple, but not easy.
Yeah.
That's life, all right. So tell me, if you were to, maybe you've done this, I don't know, do a self-portrait series or have somebody who is a disciple of Darius Bashar come in and do what you do, but to you, what would people see?
What would people see? Wow. Never thought about that.
It's often safer to be the one behind the camera, I feel like.
Yeah. And so in the midst of that opening spiritual journey after my aunt got cancer, I realized how deeply hidden I was, and I took my first selfie ever. And then I took 1 to 20 selfies every day for a year and a half now. And people don't get it that selfies don't mean you need to share it on social media. You can take selfies and keep them for yourself.
Right.
That whole process, what I discovered was I am not a human. I have a human. Everything I access, every kiss is through his lips. Every food he eats is through his mouth. Every person, every beautiful thing he sees, I see through his eyes. Everywhere I go is through his feet, his legs. And so in that moment, I realized I am not a human. I have a human. And then I quickly realized my human is my soulmate. And that was profound for me because that's what got me to start taking pictures of myself.
Sure, that relationship with yourself.
Yeah, if you had a soulmate, external soulmate, and you had never in 36 years taken a picture of them,
right,
there'd be a problem.
Yeah, treat yourself the way that you treat a person you love.
But
treat yourself like you love yourself.
Yeah. Again, simple, but not easy.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you oftentimes, I've told my partner this, like, if you talk to me the way you talk to yourself, I would break up with you.
Right.
And that's true for most of us.
Yeah.
Right? So what they would see is, I think there's a lot of depth in this human. He's optimized for depth. He wants to go deep with you. He wants to go deep with himself. I'm going to talk in the third person because it might be easier that way. But he loves like people. He deeply loves people, even though sometimes groups of people can intimidate him and he can feel overwhelmed. He just loves closeness with other humans. Integrity is like the highest thing for him. And that comes from moments in his life where he was not in integrity and making mistakes and dealing with that and taking responsibility for that and suffering through that and being like, that was not right. I'm sorry. And I won't do that ever again. He's crazy goofy. He's a giant goofball. People don't get that because of the depth. And sometimes he shows up online as super deep guy. He's a giant goofball, like crazy goofball. And he feels most alive when he's able to create and express and not care about outcome. And he's just lost in the moment. And it sounds like it's been a long journey and path in order for you to develop that kind of self-awareness, that kind of self-knowledge. A lot of work to get there. A ton of work, but there's nothing better you could possibly invest in. Because even if you think all this stuff is woo-woo and spirituality is a scam, you can't deny that the relationship you have with your human is the longest one you will ever have in your life. There's no one that will be there longer than your human. So why wouldn't you invest? Why would you say terrible things to create chemicals that create stress and disease in this human? Why would you put this human down? Why wouldn't you lift this human up and put healthy things in them and put healthy people around them? Why?
Yeah. Knowing what you know now and everything that you've learned through this process of the having done the work or doing the work,
yeah,
an ongoing process for sure. But If you could go back in time to that moment where your dad is pounding on the door and hit the pause button, what would you say to Darius then?
So this has been the work. I've actually gone back. Because, so people are like, why would you drum up these old memories? Let them die. Yes, except they're not old memories. You're reliving them often unconsciously all the time, and they're contributing to massive existing patterns in your life.
Yeah.
To break that pattern, you have to go to the core wound. So that's the dark. But you can't heal in the dark.
Right.
The healing happens in the sun and the light and the other side of the spectrum. But you can't find the wound in the light. So you need both sides. So what I've discovered is I've gone back, and I'm in that room. But the mistake I made in the past was I leaned into little Darius's experience. I became him. I am of no service to him if I'm just reliving.
Sure.
Also,
if you could coach him through it. Right?
Yes. So one trick I found is always go back and find a mirror in this memory. See adult Darius.
Yeah.
See the separation between adult Darius and child Darius. Also know that these characters, all the other people, are characters in a movie that's replaying.
Yes.
Like Nietzsche said, like everything happens again and again and again, right? They can't change. They're characters or actors with a script. They will do the exact same thing. Maybe adult dad or like now dad and now mom would be different, but they're not in this place.
And actually they probably would be, of course, just like you, in different ways. But your memory is static.
But in that replayed film, they will be exactly the same.
Yes.
They will read their lines precisely the same.
Yes.
So there's only one person that has access to this place. It's adult Darius now.
Yeah.
He gets to go back and create separation with this child self. And the thing I found is you can't yank him out.
No.
He had emotions that were never expressed. So I will go back as many times as needed to give him space to actually express and feel, because he's stifled. Once he is done expressing whatever he needs to express, I will reach my hand out to him and ask if he wants to leave this room. You know, it's an invitation. And if he doesn't want to, that's okay. I'll stay as long as it takes to have him feel safe enough to leave. And then if he takes my hand, we get to go into the sun and play, because that's where the healing actually happens.
In the play.
Yeah. But he did the best he could. You know, that was a really tough situation. And arguably they did the best they could. And I can't change that. And so someone once told me, like, there's three versions of the story. And this was really helpful when I'm thinking about heart stories. There's the victim story, which is like, oh, this was terrible. I went through this terrible, terrible thing. And that's a story I would not recommend telling people if you're a coach or, you know, like that's the same something you tell close family and friends or a professional, a therapist, or your own coach, because that's like stopping a movie halfway through. The second story is the hero story. Is this terrible thing happened and then I recovered and I came out and this is who I am. But there's a third story. It's the divine story. And that divine story is this terrible thing happened. I found a way to come out on the other end. And now with perspective, this was always meant to be. This was a divine thing that happened because someone somewhere knew I was going to come out of this with my core wound and my power, and I was going to use this experience to help others some way, not have to go through this. So I wouldn't change anything.
Darius Bashar, thank you so much for joining me. It's this hour has flown by, but I feel blessed and grateful that you shared yourself with all of us for this time. Thank you.
My pleasure, brother. I'm a big fan of the work and of you, and it takes courage to have these conversations. So thank you for showing up the way you do.
Thanks. Okay, that's it. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Darius. I loved actually getting to know him a bit better. In his photo shoot sessions, as we talked a little bit about there, I felt like he was getting to know me so well, and he noticed that thing that I did that I didn't even realize that I had done, in which I asked him to do something again, to work through it again, because I wanted to it was so challenging for me to go into an emotional place during a photo shoot where I was so used to presenting the world with the image of myself, I guess, that I had constructed, that when we started talking about my mother and about really personal stuff for me, it was difficult for me to let that down. But, it was so cool. So check out the work that he does. His heart shots are incredible. If you ever want to see yourself in a new light, work with a photographer like Darius. I also want to ask you to, if you enjoyed the show today, or even if you didn't, that's fine, subscribe. Go on to Apple Podcasts. We're available everywhere else as well. Spotify, Stitcher, everywhere, Libsyn, everywhere that you can get podcasts. Go on to Apple Podcasts, though. Subscribe. Leave us a rating. Leave us some comments. That would be great. All that stuff really helps out with the show. You can follow me on Twitter, on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever else I am. I'm not hard to find. Most places I'm at Mark Hennick, at MarkHenick, or you can go to my website, markhennick.com. What else do we got to tell you about? Oh, if you want to try out a free trial of some psychotherapy, you're not sure if it's right for you or not, so you want to just get in there and try it out virtually from home for free with licensed, credentialed, well-trained psychotherapists, go to betterhelp.com/Mark, M-A-R-K. Enter the promo code Mark, M-A-R-K, that's me, and you'll get that free trial. So go check that out and see what you think. I think that's it for me. Tune in next week. We're here every Monday. And thanks for coming and listening to So-Called Normal. I'm Mark Hennick. Have a good one.